What's up, Alliers? Quick market update. We're going to talk about the market as a whole super fast. Then I want to talk about DJT. And then I want to talk about GameStop because we had some news pop today that's actually pretty cool. So from a broad market perspective, we saw a little bit of a downturn today. The interesting part about this downturn is that it's mixed within the sectors from within the S&P 500. This simply means that it's not like this universal broad scale sell-off because we can see things like XLC, XLF, XLI all hit highs today. So there are sectors within the S&P 500 that actually are still hitting highs, even though we saw a bit of a rotation over. So what really led to that rotation over? Because if we take a look at XLY, XLV, XLU, all of those were up slightly on the day. XLRE was up on the day. XLP was up on the day. So was XLB. So if you look at it, most of the sectors were up generally on the day. We have XLF and XLI, which were red on the day, but both still gapped up and started much higher. So this is the problem. Tech. We saw XLK had a pretty significant down day today. So technology continues to be a bit of a pain. Now, taking a quick look at just the heat map, again, you can see in elements of what I'm talking about in terms of what's doing well, what's not. Energy in and of itself is generally red. We're not seeing like massive sell-offs, but definitely downside pressure. And consumer staples looks like it's performing well. Financials performing well. Schwab had a pretty big gap up today, even though it was red on the day, it still very much is up. So overall, we're getting into earnings and the market looks quite mixed. So if we take a look at Citigroup and Goldman Sachs from yesterday, they both performed well with respect to EPS versus estimates versus actual. And then today we saw a continuation of that. So PNC, BAC, even Schwab. Schwab had a really interesting move. If we pull up Schwab, we can see again, it had a pretty big gap up, but then ended down on the day. So from a broad market perspective, all this means keep risk front of mind. We are not in this really calm, persistent bull market. We are hovering near highs here and people start to get really jittery and things become slightly tenuous. If we take a look at VIX on a 6-month time frame, we can see that the average price is about, what is this, 1951? Relatively high. If I look at this on a 5-year weekly time frame, which does include 2020, the average in this is like 1515. So what I'm flagging for you, it's a little higher actually. I'm sorry, it's like 16 and a quarter. I was using the point of control. Like, yeah, maybe 16. What I'm flagging for you is volatility is expanding at this point, even though we're hovering at all-time highs. That kind of divergence is something to be aware of. Okay, cool. Now let's take a peek at DJT really quick because we came across some interesting stuff yesterday during the live stream that I want to highlight for everybody. And DJT has been essentially this big proxy for Donald Trump potentially winning the election. And if we take a look at the prediction markets as it sits, it does look like that's right now the favored outcome. So I'll grab Poly Markets for us and we literally can look at it together. So here's Poly Market. And if we take a look at the presidential election, we can see that the winner right now, and this actually went up over yesterday. So their pricing winner is Trump 57.5%. Kamala is 42.1% is the winner. So the reason why I use prediction markets for this is because prediction markets aren't laden with different political bias. Like prediction markets don't care necessarily who wins. We're just trying to be able to price it as efficiently as possible and then to trade it. That's a trader's mindset. You should like whoever you like. That's cool. I still want to try to make money on the event itself. So that's why this is actually a really, really great tool to forecast probabilities of things, because really smart people that are trying to make a lot of money are going to be here. And you can see there's $570 million in here. So, well, that's just on the Trump side, by the way. So the market here is liquid. There's definitely people participating. You can see up here it's 1.9 billion total volume in this. So lots and lots of people interested in the outcome. So that takes us back then to DJT being this proxy for Trump winning the election. Now it contracted massively today. Who knows? This is essentially a meme stock at this point. This will ebb and flow as its popularity ebbs and flows. But what I can say is it's made a move from 11 3/4 and it almost hit 35. I mean, we're not that far off from 35 here. So people are playing this for the general movement. Now, if we take a peek at the options chain, we can see a few things that it's kind of an even split calls and puts. We can see 421,000 calls against 445K puts. And you can see that the lion's share of these bigger positions are 15 Nov, which is obviously following the election. So if we limit this by the election expiration, you can see that it's 158 versus 153,000 for both calls and puts respectively. So yeah, people are speculating here. Lots of people are selling calls. As we can tell, 25% of the volume today was calls being transacted at the bid or below, typically a sale. So this is overall just an interesting thing to follow along. And if we grab unusual whales really quick, we'll take a look at just the options volume in here to give you a sense of how that's been going on a recent basis. So what I'm going to do is flag month to date, which is today's the 15th. So let's see what kind of trades we have coming in. So there's one really big trade, $935,000 in the 15 Nov 24, 21 calls. So these would have been up quite a lot yesterday. I don't know where they're at today, but this person, obviously, this looks like a speculative play to the upside. And we can see elements of that both to the upside, to the downside. And we can see that this option chain has gotten really active in the last month or so. So that is DJT. It's exhibiting pretty significant volatility. Implied volatility percentile is literally at 100% pegged up. And it's at 313.6% IV. Super, super high. Now over to GameStop, we can see that it had a little bit of an inside day. It was down just about a quarter point, but there was some cool news. Now, I am not going to pretend to know much about any of this because I don't, but it's cool to see some activity. And for anybody looking to understand what this means more, the only person I could think of that would be the guy to talk to is Richard Newton. So go check out his YouTube channel for sure, because I'm positive, I haven't looked, but I'm positive he's going to be talking about this. And he knows a lot about collectibles, cards, and stuff like that. I do not. So anyways, though, this does look cool, where we can see that there's a collaboration that started between GameStop and PSA. And you can see that it's going to become an authorized PSA dealer, and PSA will provide grading services for trading cards through select GameStop stores. So this doesn't look like massive news, but it looks like some sort of activity, which is what people are trying to see. We're trying to see what the future looks like for GameStop based on different pieces of trickled out information like this that gives some insights into what the future is going to look like, because it's been very quiet. We do know that they're sitting on quite literally billions in cash. So they have tons of money to do things. And what the structure of this deal is going to look like, I'm not sure yet. I haven't seen a lot of detail on it, but you can see that GameStop is now starting to make a little bit of action, and that's awesome to see. So I'm keeping an eye on the news to see if there's any, really big takeaways from it. I haven't seen anything that pops out to me yet. And just from a market perspective, I haven't really seen a really significant change in price. So typically, if this is like a massive announcement, you would see price start flying all over the place. But this Pikachu looks really cool. I can't read any of that, I'll be completely honest. And I also have to be honest, this Pikachu looks a little chubby. We might need to get Pikachu some salad, but I do like Pikachu. Maybe he's getting bulked up. Maybe it's because we're rolling into fall season, thus winter bulking season, trying to get massive for then the summer cut. I would accept that as an answer, but who knows? So yeah, I am really, really interested to see what this grows into. It wouldn't be overly surprising to see some sort of different card offerings. I'm sure GameStop could start their own if they were so inclined, and people would chew it up, kind of like what we've seen somebody like Trump do with his collectible cards. The fact that people are buying those is astonishing to me, but people really like the stuff that they like. So I could see that being a future direction. I have no idea which way it's going to go. And the other thing is, I honestly have absolutely no idea if this is what this means in terms of price. You guys will have to tell me in the comments, is this expensive? Is this not expensive? I've never done this, so I have no reference for how impactful this is. But it does look like an interesting thing, and it gives the stores a physical purpose now, Because again, like peripherals and stuff like that, you can argue there's a physical purpose for sure, but they can still be shipped. And a lot of this stuff could be shipped, but there's actually a lot more risk in shipping your precious card that's collectible. I would be really nervous to ship something like that around. So this is actually kind of cool to me that you can find more of these locally, that PSA is pretty widely accepted, and you can go walk in and have them evaluated. Again, I don't know if this is expensive or not, but to me, 20 bucks a card seems a little steep, especially if the card is, you know, comes out to not be worth a whole lot. But my guess is they probably have some sort of effective way to make this palatable for people to go get their cards looked at. But you guys will have to let me know more about it. From an options perspective, GameStop has been relatively quiet. So let me grab the options chain, and I'm going to look at, I don't care about the sales here. I want to look at transactions for calls, people accumulating. So there was a pretty big trade yesterday for 500 of the 10 calls, but these are out in 2026, 2025 for the next biggest. So these are people building out longer term positions, which again, that's a little more overall price accumulation style play versus this really near term focus that we tend to see in GameStop options. So if we take a look at the trade tab for GameStop and we look across open interest for everything, still a ton of calls, 712, 713,000 against 290K on the put side. And if we take a look at what concentration of those is in the front expiration, 338,000, half. So there's still just this massive, massive exposure to front expirations, which I cannot help but find that to be so curious because for those that don't know, on Saturday, I've been doing a live stream looking at all of Roaring Kitty's old trades. And I'm grabbing the workbook right now so that I can show you, because this activity of playing this front expiration so heavy is so interesting to me, because for the people that are trying to emulate what the cat did, that's really not what he's done. So if we take a look at his options plays, what I started to do is actually build out a view over here that shows me the nearest expiration for all of these different options plays that he's made. Again, this is now literally going back to the very beginning, the very first post that he made. And we're still working through the 2024 stuff. What I want to highlight from what I've seen so far is he did a 3 DTE trade one time, and that was around an earnings event. So this was a event-driven near-term play, and he ended up essentially having that option expire worthless. So I just bring that to people's attention because as I go through the rest of all these different trades that I've seen him made, you can see 94 DTE, these are 107 DTE, these are 52 DTE. He first put these on at 495 DTE. So a lot of these trades that he's building even later into the time here, like this one, 137 DTE, he's building things with pretty long-term expirations. That's playing the value up, which again, I just find it slightly interesting when I look at how most people are playing GameStop here, which is playing it like all the front week, which is just a way to light money on fire. And for a smarter way to buy options, I'll link to a video below. It's literally just to give you other ideas on how to potentially play this versus just buying super cheap, far out of the money options and hoping something happens. As always, if you need anything, let me know. Be an outlier. See y'all later.